Come on in, pull up a chair, and take a load off, because today I'll be reviewing and paging through Pathfinder Broken Tusk Moon from Paizo Inc. Is this first chapter of the quest for the Frozen Flame adventure path off to a rollicking start with this adventure? Or will you find your enthusiasm for the Frozen Flame completely snuffed out by Broken Tusk Moon? Well, you're going to find out right after this. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. As I mentioned in the open, today I am going to be reviewing Pathfinder Broken Tusk Moon from Paizo Inc. This first chapter in the quest for the Frozen Flame adventure path is written by both Ron and Stephanie Lundeen. Normally, I would provide the artist credits, but there are loads of names that I guarantee I will butcher and mispronounce, so I am going to skip that. I apologize. This 96-page softcover is available right now. It does carry an MSRP of $24.99. You can grab just the PDF alone for $17.99. So let's swing on over to the other camera, because here I've got Broken Tusk Moon. Few things before we jump on in. First of all, the fine folks over at Paizo Inc. were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share my thoughts about this adventure with you. And these days, believe it or not, it's important that you know that. Also, I'm going to stay picture-in-picture up here in the upper corner. So that means I'm going to be cutting off the upper left portion of the book as we take a peek through. Of course, we are not going to be looking at each and every page of the adventure. I just want to give you kind of a look at it, and as I discuss my thoughts about the adventure as well. This is an adventure, so that means there are going to be some spoilers ahead. Here there be spoilers. But I always try to stay away from revealing too many spoilers. But if you are a player and you're hoping that your game master is going to run this adventure path, I definitely recommend tune out now. Go check out one of the over 1,300 other videos on the channel. You'll appreciate it. You don't want the surprises ruined. You really don't. Also, I've had some folks email me asking if I can share some of my thoughts about how I would approach running some of these adventures that I do reviews for, and I will be doing that with Broken Tusk Moon as well. This is not scripted. Nothing here is scripted. It's all just pretty much stream of consciousness as I take a peek through and talk about the adventure. So let's kick off. Take a look at the back of the adventure here. The hunt begins. If the Broken Tusk following is to survive the coming year, their bravest scouts must carve a path through a harsh wilderness. Brutal beasts, wicked rivals, and an inhospitable landscape challenge the trailblazers to withstand their enemies and the elements. But mere survival is not enough. To forge their legacies as mammoth lords, the scouts search for an ancient artifact to light the way forward, the primordial flame. The quest for the Frozen Flame adventure path begins with Broken Tusk Moon, a complete adventure for first to third level characters. Right, we're going to dive on in. And this is only a three-part adventure path. So the player characters are going to advance from first to, I believe, 10th level throughout this adventure. And we're going to start off on the front cover, the back of the front cover. We've got some hex maps here. There is a pretty heavy hex crawl element to the, at least this first chapter of the adventure path and the first two portions of this adventure. So we've got that there. And of course, on the back cover, we've got some maps as far as some of the adventure locales and set pieces. So we're going to jump on in here, and there's a lot of stuff that I actually really kind of dig about this new adventure path, but there are some things that I don't. And one of them is the really convoluted backstory involving the primordial flame. So the primordial flame is an artifact. It's a lamp. It's a magic lamp that will actually allow the person who possesses it to change the environment around them. So a barren landscape could become a forest and grasslands teeming with life. So the artifact itself, I think, is pretty cool. I like that. But there's this big backstory about the Broken Tusk, which is the tribe that the player characters are going to belong to, and the Burning Mammoths, which is actually a much larger tribe that the Broken Tusks used to be part of, but they actually left that tribe and decided they were going to be the protectors of the primordial flame. And of course, that doesn't happen, and the artifact is lost, and a hero goes in search of it, but the hero makes a deal with a demon, which we know that's never going to work out. It's like, seriously, when did that ever go well? And so now the primordial flame is lost. It is lost to both tribes. They don't know where it's at. In fact, this takes place long before this adventure begins. So the player characters don't even know anything about this primordial flame. So there is this other tribe, the Burning Mammoths, who are now led by this warmonger who is essentially on the warpath and gathering followers and allies and just laying waste to everything within her path. Now, this takes place up in the north of Galarian, and a much more inhospitable locale. So what's going on here, the player characters belong to the Broken Tusks, and they're a nomadic tribe. In fact, so are the Burning Mammoths. So they essentially make an annual trek, just like Native Americans did way back in the day. And essentially, different parts of the year, they're going to be in different locations. So the Burning Tusks find themselves at a locale where they celebrate like the new year, the coming of spring, essentially. But of course, the weather has been getting worse and worse as years go on, and there's, fewer game to be hunted. So the land is essentially dying. But the Broken Tusks are managing to survive. So what happens is the warmonger learns that the Broken Tusks had the primordial flame because she knows about it, and she's also allied with these frost giants who know about it, and both those factions want it for their own purposes. And even though they're allied, they're no doubt willing to double cross each other in order to get it for themselves. And of course, most of the members of the Broken Tusks know nothing about this thing. So essentially what's happened is the Broken Tusks are now on a collision course with the Burning Mammoths, who will essentially wipe the floor with them. So the player characters are scouts. They are in the middle of their training to be scouts for the Broken Tusks. And the adventure begins. They're kind of wrapping up their training. They're kind of off trying to complete their training. And the tribe member who is overseeing them, like the lead scout, is actually pregnant. So she is not of a lot of assistance to them during the small set pieces to prepare them to become scouts for the tribe. And we've got some NPCs as well. There's an NPC scout that if you were to role play them as presented, the player characters are going to see a plot twist a mile away. So you've got a couple of things you can do. You could either downplay that so that the betrayal that's going to come at the end of this adventure, towards the end of the adventure, is a real shocker. Or you can just play it up where your player characters are going to sit there and be like, I saw that coming a mile away. I knew it. I knew it. So you kind of do those things. So the first chapter is essentially preparing the player characters, getting them to know the tribe, doing a little bit of exploring, and it finishes up with an attack from the vanguard of the war party that is on the rampage for the burning mammoths. And what happens is a lot of the scouts, a lot of the more experienced scouts, are knocked out of action. So now the player characters are tasked with trying to lead the tribe away from the burning mammoths and the big war party that's on their tails. Then they find out about the primordial flame. And one of the elders of the tribe explains what it is, and actually kind of puts the player characters on a quest to try to find it, which leads them to the first location, the Red Cat Cave, which was one of these stops along the way of the ill-fated hero that made that deal with the demon. Once again, like I said, super convoluted backstory. It really, really is. So we've got quite a few different set pieces. And eventually what's going to happen is the player characters are going to find themselves confronted with the ghost guardian of this giant tiger, which is actually pretty cool. I thought that was pretty cool. Of course, he doesn't have the primordial flame, but it's able to put the player characters on the trek to the next stop along the way, which is going to be Lost Mammoth Valley, which is the second chapter of this adventure path. So the third part is that the player characters find themselves leading the tribe through these mountains, and they're trying to find a path out of the mountains that's going to take them into Lost Mammoth Valley, keeping in mind the name of the valley is Lost Mammoth. So it is a lost valley. So people don't know where it's at. So there'll be some trial and error, most likely, throughout the adventure. And all along, the player characters have the burning mammoths on their tails. So then we get into some information about the Broken Tusks. We have some new feats. We get some new magic items. We get a new archetype as well. Right there, we've got the game hunter. We get a discussion about snares and laying snares. And then we get a little bestiary with some new creatures in here as well. Oh, there we go. We'll just skip past the betrayal there. Then we get some ads for Pathfinder. And that is Quest for the Frozen Flame, taking a look at the book. So let's swing on over to the other camera. I'm going to share some thoughts about how I would run this adventure, not really knowing too much about what's in the other two parts, which can kind of be tricky. And I've talked about this before with adventure paths, that usually it's in players, or I should say game masters' best interest to have all the chapters of an adventure path and have at least glance through some of the later chapters to be able to best run a complete adventure path. It can be a little tough to run them as they come out, especially with NPCs, because a lot of times NPCs are not necessarily presented in earlier chapters in full, right? You may have like chapter 4 of a 6-part adventure path that goes in a lot of detail about an NPC that's been showing up from time to time in earlier chapters who now plays a bigger role. And you're like, ooh, crap, I was running them absolutely different than that. So that's something to keep in mind. So my approach to this is, and remember, I come from kind of an old school mentality, but I would really try to focus on making this very personal for the player characters. For one, this is a smaller scope than most adventure paths for Pathfinder. For one, it's only 3 chapters long, but also it's not some big quest to save the world. It's protecting and saving their tribe, their families, their people, to make sure that the burning mammoths don't exterminate the broken tusks. I think that's pretty cool. I like that. I like the smaller scale of this adventure. What I would do is I would make the attack by the Vanguard, which is kind of a couple of waves of some NPCs in that are attacking that the player characters are mainly kind of focused on. I would make that kind of overwhelming. I would make it a much bigger attack than what's presented in the adventure, because honestly, and this is a thing with 5e and Pathfinder, first level characters are very powerful, and right off the bat at first level, it's sort of like, okay, you guys are heroes, you guys are big heroes, and that's fine. I get that. I understand, but a lot of times the setup to that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It doesn't feel organic. So how I would actually present the big kind of pivot moment in this adventure when the burning mammoths attack is I would have established some NPCs earlier on. I would probably run this as a session with the first chapter and throw in a few more little set pieces with some NPCs I just made up on the fly or just kind of jotted down, who are like, warriors of the tribe, important figures in the tribe that maybe the player characters look up to, and have them take part in this battle, which is essentially what puts the tribe on the path to find the primordial flame. I would have those NPCs die in the battle, so that, or I'd have like the more powerful warriors and scouts pretty much be wiped out in the battle. Now, there is a mechanic in the first chapter where the player characters see this Vanguard and they can make some preparations, and depending on how well they prepared, they'll have fewer casualties. I would toss that out. I would make it a devastating attack on the tribe just to drive home the fact that, hey, you know what? These burning mammoths could easily extinguish the entire tribe of broken tusks, and make it far more important to the characters that they get away from the burning mammoths. So that's something I would really play up a lot. Once again, I would trim a lot of the fat off the backstory about the primordial flame and the falling out between the burning mammoths and the broken tusks. Once again, I'm a game master looking to try to run things at the table. I don't necessarily need page after page of backstory in order to provide an adventure at the gaming table. Plus, most players aren't real big on info dumps. They're not huge fans of 10-minute, speeches being delivered by NPCs. So that's something else to keep in mind as well. I like this adventure. I think this is a good kickoff to an adventure path. Once again, now I have received the second part. I have not taken a peek at it yet at all. So all I know about what's going to take place in this adventure path is in the small synopsises that are like a paragraph long that are included in the adventure chapters. But I think this is off to a good start, and I could probably run the hell out of this. I would change things, yes, make it deadlier, not necessarily for the player characters, but for everybody else in the tribe. But I do like this. I think this is well presented. and a pretty interesting setup as well. It's a little bit different than we're used to seeing as far as Pathfinder adventure paths. On a scale of 0 to 10, I give Pathfinder Broken Tusk Moon a 7.5 out of 10. Once again, like I said, I think the adventure path is off to a good start, and I think most people will enjoy this first chapter. All right, that is it for this time out. If you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already, and if you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when I upload videos such as this review, it'll also inform you when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. Thanks so much for watching. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer, and here's hoping each and every one of you out there gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang. See you next time. Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel by clicking right here. Check out the latest episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch, or find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks for watching.